Hello, Battletech enthusiasts. Today we're going to talk about an 8,000 value battle module. A battle module is something you keep in mind as a possible combination of mechs that you just whip out whenever you need to, when you need to design an arbitrary number of battle value army to play in some game. So you kind of memorize these combinations, and then you use them as necessary when the time comes. So 8,000 battle value is quite a lot, and it's and with Inner Sphere it's kind of hard to do that unless you have broken your group up into separate subgroups, or you go for the Steiner Scout Lance, which is 4 atlases. So it turns out 4 atlases, 1 warrior, and like an SRM jump infantry can fit into roughly 8,000 battle value. And you may have to pick a 4-8 instead of a 4-5 SRM jump infantry or something like that, depending on what the actual numbers are. I think at some variants of these you have to kind of cheapen the infantry a little bit to make it fit, depending on what book you're looking in and whatnot. So anyway, you get yourself your warrior that functions as your spotter, assuming the opponent is allowing you to play with VTOLs, and if not, then you can insist that you should be allowed to use like a Swiftwind scout cars, the internal combustion engine variants that are speed optimized, because those are super cheap, because the communications gear is removed, which is basically dead battle value in a tabletop battle. So the Swiftwind scout cars can kind of make up partly for the loss of the warrior, and basically guide LRMs from your 4 atlases at your target. You can, of course, go ahead and design whatever battle group you want. And you can split it up into several lances, or just have a bunch of mechs and tanks and whatnot. But in the end, whatever you pick, just compare it to 4 atlases. Would you have been better off had you just picked 4 atlases and a warrior? If the answer is yes, then you should reconsider your lance design and your army design, and instead try to come up with something better, or maybe just go for 4 atlases if you can't think of anything else. The other thing to remember is, if you're playing with clans and things, of course you can get to that battle value very quickly, but I'm assuming this is all Inner Sphere, and I'm focusing on the 3025 type technology and stock mech designs. Of course, you can tweak these considerably up or down. Plus, you can always adjust pilot skills so they're not 4-5 for mechs, and infantry skills so they're not 4-8 for infantry, and to do like the anti-mech training on the infantry to put them all 4-5 and whatnot. But you may end up just tweaking your some other mech design by mech group design, just by increasing the pilot skills as well. So if you have a 6,000 battle value group that you really like, perhaps you mostly keep it intact and maybe switch out 1 or 2 mechs, and then you just tweak up the pilot skills until you are at 8,000 battle value. So anyway, that's it. You want to construct a battle value module that's worth 8,000 battle value, and then a possibility as a variant, if you want to go all vehicles, you could try just 4 demolishers and 4 LRM carriers, and just rain down vast numbers of missiles on your targets. Or you could also go for 3 demolishers with 5 LRM carriers, and the demolishers are basically a little bit more spread out, so your LRM carriers are more vulnerable, but you will have a lot more DPS, or basically damage output, from your LRM carriers. So this is roughly 8,000 battle value, just as a concept. And you could create a fairly powerful fortress, especially if you're in a defensive position, because you get a 30-ish percentage battle value discount when you go for tanks instead of mechs. So if you're in a defensive position and you're allowed to, and you know that, and you're allowed to design whatever force you want, you may consider just 3 demolishers and 5 LRM carriers with some warriors as the spotters. Or you can go a little bit more mobile fortress style with 4 demolishers and 4 LRM carriers. That's a 8,000 battle value module that you can keep in mind. And also, of course, you may want other modules that have mechs in them to augment that, so you're just not all pure vehicles, but is a way to go.